He laughed. He cried. He lied. He cheated. He stole. And the world still loved him for it. This isn't just the story of a wrestler. This is the journey of a man who turned every setback into a comeback, every scar into a symbol, and every fight into a legacy. This is a story of Eddie Guerrero, Latino Heat, a soul who lives on in every chant, every memory, and every heart that still beats Viva la Raza. He didn't just perform, he made us feel. Every lie was clever, every cheat was thrilling, every match was magic. This is Eddie Guerrero, the rise, fall, and legacy of Latino Heat. Who was the real Eddie Guerrero? The man behind the smile, behind the shimmy, the swagger, the steel chair? How did a man once fired for addiction rise back and become WWE Champion just years later? Why did millions cheer for a superstar who lied, cheated, and stole, and still loved him for it? What demons haunted him outside the ring? And what kind of pain was hidden behind those legendary promos and unforgettable matches? Was his final feud with Rey Mysterio just entertainment, or something far more personal? And on that quiet November morning in 2005, what exactly did the wrestling world lose when Eddie Guerrero's heart stopped beating? Let's go beyond the gimmicks, beyond the glory. Eduardo "Gory" Guerrero Lanz was born on October 9, 1967, in El Paso, Texas, into a family synonymous with professional wrestling. His father, Gory Guerrero, was a legendary Mexican wrestler and one of the sport's early pioneers. Eddie grew up surrounded by the sounds of the ring and the echoes of luchador chants. With older brothers Chavo Sr., Mando, and Hector blazing trails in the ring, Eddie was raised inside wrestling rings more than playgrounds. He trained under his father's tutelage from a young age, mastering technical prowess, psychology, and the passion that would one day define him. He attended the University of New Mexico before transferring to New Mexico Highlands University on a wrestling scholarship. Eddie debuted professionally in Mexico's Consejo Mundial de Lucha Libre, CMLL, and later joined Asistencia, Asesoría y Administración, AAA, where he teamed with Art Barr to form La Pareja del Terror. Their chemistry made them heels that fans loved to hate. Their feud with El Hijo del Santo and Octagon was one of the most critically acclaimed programs in Lucha Libre history. After Barr's untimely death in 1994, Eddie traveled to Japan, where he wrestled in New Japan Pro Wrestling, NJPW, as Black Tiger 2. In NJPW, he refined his style, combining Japanese strong style with Mexican lucha and American storytelling. He won the Best of the Super Juniors tournament in 1996, a notable accomplishment shared by other legends like Chris Benoit and Jushin Thunder Liger. ECW and WCW shining in the shadows, Eddie debuted in Extreme Championship Wrestling, ECW, in 1995. Under Paul Heyman's vision, Guerrero's technical brilliance shone brightly. His matches with Dean Malenko were instant classics, elevating ECW's reputation for pure wrestling. Later that year, WCW signed him to help build their cruiserweight division. While there, he competed in thrilling matches against Rey Mysterio, Juventud Guerrera, and Chris Jericho. His match with Rey Mysterio Jr. at Halloween Havoc 1997 remains one of the greatest in WCW history. Despite his in-ring excellence, WCW failed to push Eddie as a main event star. Disillusioned with backstage politics, Eddie joined other disgruntled stars in plotting a jump to WWE. In January 2000, Eddie Guerrero made his WWE debut alongside Chris Benoit, Perry Saturn, and Dean Malenko as the Radicals. Though an elbow injury delayed his singles breakout, he quickly recovered and charmed audiences as the smooth-talking Latino Heat. His on-screen romance with China helped elevate his profile, and he captured the Intercontinental Championship during this period. Eddie's charisma and comic timing created moments that still live in fan memory, from sly cheating to over-the-top flirting. Despite the fame, the cheers, and the championship gold, Eddie Guerrero's personal life was slowly falling apart. It was New Year's Day, 1999. Still drunk from the night before, Eddie woke up and decided to drive to the store for nothing more than a carton of eggs. As he sat back in his Trans Am, he spotted something in his center console, a vial of GHB, a powerful sedative often misused by bodybuilders and abusers alike. Thinking it would help him relax, Eddie gave himself a dose, but it was too much. Minutes later, the drug took effect. His vision blurred, his body shut down, his eyes closed, and this time, they didn't reopen. His car roared down the highway at over 130 miles per hour. It slammed into guardrails, flipped violently, and tore apart. Debris scattered across trees and fields. The only reason Eddie survived was because he was thrown clear, launched through the roof of his convertible. He was left with a shattered hip socket, a broken collarbone, crushed spinal discs, injuries that never fully healed. And yet, it wasn't just his body that was broken. To numb the pain, Eddie turned to alcohol. To cope with the pressure, he turned to painkillers. Several months after the crash, now carrying multiple addictions, he forced himself back into the ring. But WWE took notice. By 2001, the company released Eddie Guerrero. He had become a danger to himself. And then, everything changed. Eddie checked himself into rehab. He reconnected with his faith. He fought for his family. He wrestled on the indie circuit with the heart of a man trying to earn back his soul. And he did. In 2002, impressed by his transformation, Vince McMahon brought Eddie back to WWE. Not as the man he was, but as the man he was meant to be. Latino Heat had returned, fueled not by ego, but by redemption. Back in WWE, Eddie reinvented himself. Teaming with nephew Chavo as Los Guerreros, the duo became fan favorites with their lie, cheat, and steal gimmick. Their vignettes, stealing from hotel staff or outsmarting opponents, were hilarious, yet showcased Eddie's range as a performer. He later found singles success, winning the WWE United States Championship and then stepping into the main event picture. At No Way Out 2004, Guerrero achieved the unthinkable, defeating Brock Lesnar to win the WWE Championship. It was an emotional night that transcended wrestling. Eddie stood tall as a Latino champion who had overcome every personal and professional barrier. His victory was celebrated by fans and peers alike. Backstage, he was seen as a locker room leader who helped elevate younger talent. In 2005, Eddie Guerrero found himself at the center of one of WWE's most emotionally intense storylines. What started as a friendly rivalry with Rey Mysterio soon spiraled into something far more personal and controversial. Eddie claimed that he, not Rey, was the biological father of Rey's son, Dominic, sending shockwaves through the WWE universe. It was bold, it was dramatic, and it was unforgettable. Eddie leaned fully into the role. He played it with fire, charisma, and emotional depth, showing the world why he was one of the greatest storytellers in the history of professional wrestling. Week after week, he blurred the line between fiction and reality, pulling fans deeper into the drama. But behind the curtain, a different battle was unfolding. Years of substance abuse combined with the relentless toll of wrestling had taken a quiet but deadly toll on his body. Even as he delivered some of the best matches of his life, Eddie was hurting. And then, the unthinkable happened. On the morning of November 13th, 2005, Eddie Guerrero was found unconscious in his hotel room by his nephew Chavo. Paramedics rushed to the scene, but it was too late. Eddie was pronounced dead. The cause? Acute heart failure, likely the tragic consequence of years of physical and emotional battles. He was just 38 years old. The wrestling world was shattered. Fans grieved. Fellow wrestlers cried not just for the legend they lost, but for the man who had inspired so many with his fight, his flaws, and his heart. Eddie Guerrero was more than a wrestler. He was a survivor, a brother, a father, and a warrior who wore his pain and his passion on his sleeve. And though he's gone, his spirit still lives on. Eddie Guerrero left behind his wife, Vicky, and their 3 daughters. But more than that, he left behind a legacy. His influence lives on through the generations he inspired and mentored, from John Cena to Batista, and especially Rey Mysterio. Inside the ring, Eddie was a master, a storyteller, a technician, a heart with a fight no one could replicate. In 2006, just a year after his death, he was posthumously inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. Chavo Guerrero and Rey Mysterio took the stage, tears in their eyes, as they honored their brother. Today, Eddie's presence is still felt in arenas around the world. Sasha Banks pays tribute with her gear, and Dominic Mysterio, once the little boy in Eddie's most personal storyline, now faces his own father, Rey, in a feud that echoes their shared past. Eddie Guerrero was far from perfect, but that's what made him unforgettable. Because every time he stepped through those ropes, he gave us everything. His laughter, his pain, his passion, his heart. He made us laugh. He made us cry. But most of all, he made us believe. Viva la Raza!